Education for healthcare providers, including GPs, nurses and carers, was one of the key themes raised at a public hearing into end-of-life choices in Traralgon recently. A range of community health providers and health professionals gave evidence at the hearing held by the Victorian Parliament's Legal and Social Issues Committee. They were told starting the conversation with patients can often be the hardest part.
One of the major issues I think that clinicians face is being equipped with the communication skills to start the conversation. There's lots of documentation around about how to complete an advanced care plan, but opening the topic and discussions about end-of-life care is often quite difficult. Clinicians ideally should be trained in communication skills. They can be taught and they can be learned, and they need to be reinforced regularly. The community doesn't have a very good understanding about what palliative care is and what the end-of-life choices are. We also live in a death-denying society as well. So I think the more discussions we can have about death and dying gives the community the opportunity to feel more comfortable about talking about it, and also then discussing what their end-of-life wishes could potentially be.
I think one of the areas I still think we've got a lot of work to do with end-of-life choices. It relates to teaching, encouraging doctors to know how to and when to have discussions and initiate discussions. I think for many doctors it's still an area that is it's perceived to be difficult, and I think when you perceive something to be difficult, you avoid it.
As well as education around palliative care, the committee heard that regional areas like Gippsland need skilled counsellors as well.
I go back to the notion that the majority of people with a life-limiting illness or those with chronic diseases who are reaching the end stage of their life, they spend the majority of their time in the last 12 months of their lives at home, where they require the support from the hospital district nursing services, support from the GPs, if possible support, psychosocial support. You know, we don't have many, psychosocial allied health professionals in terms of counsellors or bereavement and spiritual support. So that's what we need. And for that, for employment of those people, we need funding.
For those caring for family or loved ones, the process can be very drawn out and difficult to navigate.
Part of it was we didn't know what services are available, because Mum was diagnosed in May and given 6 months to live. It really came down to a case of where did we go, what do we do? So we weren't aware of it, the doctors weren't fully aware of what was available, and we found it was very bureaucratic trying to get assistance and services. There's a lot of red tape to go through. We had to make a lot of phone calls to people and chase up and wait for them to get back to us, or get in contact with other groups and other departments to provide that service. From my point of view, it was the slowness of getting the assessment done. I feel it should have been done as when a doctor makes a diagnosis that a person's terminal or there is an end-of-life horizon, that should have been the trigger for the services to come to us, rather than us trying to chase up services.
For more information on the inquiry, visit the committee's website www.parliament.vic.gov.au/LSIC.